New node alert, new cycles feature alert. Yes, not everything is Eevee these days. There's a new node joining the node editor, the shaded editor, that will make our life so much simpler when shading hair. So there is already a hair shader in Blender, but it takes a lot of setting up. And the same concept that we had last year with the principal BSDF, this ultimate shader for PVR looking surfaces and skin and everything. That same concept that was later also introduced for the principal volume shader, which makes making volume shaders easier. Now it's applied to the hair. So there's a principal hair BSDF that it's so much simpler and it just looks so cool. So yes, it's a new node, and you will just find it like in the rest of like the list of the nodes. It's called Principal Hair BSDF, and it just looks amazing. Look, this looks like a render that will take ages, but it's actually 40 seconds here, and it not only looks good, but it's also very fast. So what are the settings? It's very simple, just in the nature of the principle. It's you have a few settings. So the one that you're going to use the most usually is one of these three models, which is the melanin concentration. So you basically set up a level of melanin on your hair. So 0, you're full on albino, and then you can go a little bit more, and then you get this nice blonde hair. The more you go, it gets darker, and if you go full on, you get something like this. I like to think that I am somewhere here instead, but no. So yeah, that's basically it. With one slider, you can get this awesome looking hair. Of course, you can apply more tweaks to it, so you can make it a bit more red if you want to have it more of more red. And you see the cat is so nice. Just naturally, just looks good. And yeah, you can go nuts. And remember these sliders, the number that shows up here is the safe numbers, but you can you can always just like go nuts. So yeah, input the number manually, but don't do it unless you want to go crazy with the colors, which you can if you want. There is a tint color that will help you add a little bit of color variation on top of the melanin, so you get a bit more of a, yeah, when people dye their hair, but a bit more natural looking. If you want completely unnatural or just have full control over the color, you can always change from melanin concentration to the direct coloring version of the model of this principal VSDF, which will override it, will look completely with this color. When would you use this? Well, maybe when you already have a texture that you want to map into this node, like as a color. So that way it has a bit less control, but it's not as natural looking as this. This one actually has a lot more control. Then the last one is very specific. Is when you want to, like when you really want to have the one-on-one, like you're following a paper or something and you really want to have a more precise detail on it. But otherwise, go with the melanin concentration, which is much, it's so easy to use. You also have roughness, so to control how specular how the light distributes over your strands, and you also have radial roughness, which I would make it. You can play with this to get the shiny level of fit. This is one of the great examples of how things should go. You get the feature and you get awesome documentation in the Blender manual in docs.blender.org. There is already documentation which you can follow just to see how each individual settings affect. So it's so nice. So the other settings code, you will add like a layer of like specularity on top of it, so you can have like more like a grease or gel or wet hair, for example. You can control that. And then the other settings like index of refraction, unless you're trying to achieve like more of a different kind of thick hair, like animal hair, for example, you can change those. But otherwise, the default settings are pretty okay. Like the offset. The offset, basically, I was asking hair scales. I was asking Brecht about it because it was added like just now. So basically the offset will change the angle of it, of each scale, so to speak. But those settings you never change. Just go with these ones on top, and then you can also add a random color. This one, yeah, is pretty useful because it will add per strand an individual color difference on top of the melanin, so it will make it a bit more more random, so it looks a bit more realistic. And you can also change the roughness, which is the same as this one, but random per strand. So lots of options there, but here on the top are the ones that you're gonna change the most, and it's just so simple. You don't have to add all the million nodes that you had before. So this is fantastic. It looks great. It's based on a paper from the same kind of hair that was used for Zootopia, for example. So yeah, you get you can get exact same thing. You know, it's fantastic. So yes, go test it. It's in Blender 2.8 and it's also in Blender Master. So the development version of 270, like the one after 2.79, that is still based on 2.7, that has that doesn't have the UI from 2.8 but still has a lot of improvements, already has it. So if you're working with that, you can already try it, or just use 2.8. It's right there. And credits time. Yes, this is part of a Google Summer of Code. This is the first project of 2018 to be merged already. Like, summer is still going and it's already merged. So cool. Congrats, Leonardo Segovia and Lucas Stogner as part of the Google Summer of Code. This is fantastic. So yes, so exciting. Finally, we have nice looking hair. Nice, greasy, hipster hair. Yeah, speaking of hipster, actually this file has a few more haircuts. So yes, thanks to Chris Chuipka for this blend file, providing this blend file to test. So all these crazy hairdos, and there is one here, the first one. It's like a, oops, this one. Nice. Let me go here, right there. There, it looks like our own character artist, Julian. Yeah, it's awesome. Anyway, I'll go play with this. So you also should go play with this. Download Blender 2.8 or the master version from today and go play with it. I will see you again. Yeah, by the way, I moved to a new office. Now I'm standing. I actually can do exercise and stuff. Okay, now off topic. I will see you again in the next video. Ciao.